Okay, I believe we have started the recording. Yeah. So first of all, I just wanted to say to everyone, thank you so much for making time in your schedule to come and join us today. And I want to say welcome to Do It in Durham. So this is Durham Region's celebration of Entrepreneurship Week, and it is held each November during Global Entrepreneurship Week. My name is Antoinette Burrell, and I'm a junior business advisor with the BACD. So throughout the session, I will be monitoring the chat box for any questions as we go along. And I'm sure as well that our facilitators will be happy to have a Q&A session, probably at the end as well, if time permits. Also, just a reminder that this session will be recorded, and I believe the presentation will be made available to attendees after the session. I don't want to miss out saying thank you to our sponsors. And of course, without their support and contribution, we couldn't host this week. So just a quick shout out to Invest Clarington, the Oshawa Economic Development, Town of Whitby, BACD, Ajax Advantage, Invest Pickering, Ontario Tech University, Brilliant Catalyst, and Spark Center. So I want to start by welcoming our three speakers this morning. And again, forgive me if there's any mispronunciation of names, but I'm sure you'll correct me as we go along. So we have with us Isaac Wanzama, Zadock Orifa, and James Eboh. Isaac Wanzama is the founder and CEO of Guardlii Cyber Security Services, a Canadian consultancy specializing in tailored cybersecurity solutions for sectors such as retail, manufacturing, and financial services. Zadock Orifa is a cybersecurity analyst at Guardlii Cyber Security Services, specializing in compliance, risk management, and digital resilience. And we also have James Eboh, who is a cybersecurity analyst and trainer at Guardlii Cyber Security Services. So folks, please join me in welcoming our speakers, and let's begin.
Awesome. Thanks, Antoinette. You missed nothing on that intro. So kudos for hitting that. Yeah, thank you to BACD for inviting us to speak today and putting on this awesome event, which is really an area of importance for small businesses as we think about how we protect ourselves. I'm a small business owner myself, so these are things that I think about, and like you, I have to certainly give thought to. Again, as Antoinette touched on, Guardlii is a e-commerce, it's a cybersecurity consulting firm, and we're actually located in downtown Whitby, focusing on really helping businesses large and small protect our data, which is the big thing that we have to think about as we operate. Retail is an area we spend a lot of time, manufacturing, financial services.
Sorry, I'm just going to mute other folks in the team here, and whoever's speaking can unmute themselves individually. Go ahead.
Isaac, you're on mute, sorry.
Okay.
I'm back on mute. Yeah, and number 4, as I was saying, really talking about the breadth of companies I have to think about. So if you're operating a business, chances are you're managing data, you're managing payments, you're managing client information. So really anybody that's running an organization or a business has to think about, how am I protecting my operations. With that, my name is Isaac. I'm the founder of Guardlii Cybersecurity, in addition to a company called Geek Commerce. So being a business owner in downtown Whitby is something that has always been, mainly part of this community. With that, we got James Eboh and Zadock Orifa, who's going to lead us through this session. And let's get through the agenda since we've done the intro already, Zadock. So what are we going to cover today? The intent here is to really give you some practical, walkaways in terms of, how do I protect my business? But we're going to start by understanding cybersecurity basics. So we hear about this topic a lot in the news, but what does it really mean? So we're going to talk about that, talk about the importance of it, and more importantly, talk about the threats that affect small businesses. Obviously, we hear about large companies being hacked, but how do we bring that down to your everyday operations? We're going to get into the type of operations you need. We're going to talk about cybersecurity framework and the pieces that go into building that. We're going to talk about building your protection plan. You know that you need cybersecurity, but how do I get there? So we want to answer that. Zadock is going to talk about incident response plans and really what do I do when something happens. We're going to talk about third-party risks. So you don't run your business in isolation. You have partners to support you. You got an accountant. You got lawyers, maybe you got suppliers. All those are part of your third-party ecosystem. How does their security affect you as well? We're going to talk about compliance a little bit, not get overly too technical. And then we're going to talk about some next steps to begin really protecting your business, and then answer with any Q&A. So with that, Zadock, I'm going to turn it over to you to lead us into the first part.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Isaac. Yeah, so this brings us to, we're looking to understand the fundamentals of cybersecurity and how that entails to our businesses, be it small businesses, you want to grow your businesses. So here, as we start out, cybersecurity is the practice of protecting computer systems and networks and customer and employee data, also your financial information. So as you're running your business, you definitely have accountants, you have lawyers, regulations that you need to abide by. So all those data need protection from unauthorized users. And so cybersecurity is mainly keeping your data private and secure for only those who need to access that data. And so some of the core cybersecurity areas are such as network security. This is where we protect digital infrastructure. So think of it as you have a Wi-Fi. How do you connect the cloud? How does communication work within your organization digitally? And so that's the portion of the network security. Then application security. So these are the programs that we run within our digital devices. So secure those softwares and applications. It could be cloud application, third-party applications, or inbuilt applications. Cloud security, majorly this has to do with data. So safeguarding your data stored online. So we know that at times we tend to use third-party software. So some of it we could talk about Google Drive, share folders that we store online. And so each of these areas is where cybersecurity comes to protect all the digital infrastructure that you have. And so that brings us to the importance of cybersecurity. So as a business, what you want to understand is cybersecurity is not only a technical necessity, it's actually a fundamental aspect of modern governance and business practice. So reasons why you want to implement cybersecurity. So here we're going to look at protecting your sensitive data, as you mentioned. So this is where you ensure confidentiality and integrity, as well as availability within your organization. So we call that a CIA triad. So if you can protect your sensitive data, if you're looking to work with large organizations or other partners, ensuring confidentiality, integrity, and availability of that data creates some protection between you and other organizations. So preventing financial loss, this is actually critical and very important. Small businesses, when they get a cyber attack or when they're breached, it's very hard to start from scratch. And so a lot of small businesses tend to just close out and forget about the business. And so here we want to prevent these financial losses by minimizing the economic impact when a cyber incident actually occurs. And maintaining operation integrity. So this goes to business continuity. And in the following slides, we'll look at the incident response plan, having them in place. So this is that portion of does not only apply to cybersecurity. Other incidences could be like when a fire breaks out. So what is your business contingency plan within your organization? Then we have ensuring regulatory compliance. So as small businesses, we are not majorly required to comply with cybersecurity standards. However, when you have a business, it's good to understand what is the regulatory compliance environment of cybersecurity. You need to implement some of the strategies to secure environment. As long as you're using digital products within your environment, you definitely need some form of security within your organization to prevent yourself from cyber attacks. It doesn't mean that maybe you're starting out a company. What happens is now we have very young from high school to secondary to college, attackers that look for little money to fund their whatever they want to fund, and so they try to attack small businesses. And as we're gonna see some of the attack measures that apply, this is where now having to follow some guidelines of security is important. Then safeguarding reputation. So as I mentioned, you're going to be working with third-party organizations, you have vendors, you have suppliers. So preserving the public trust is critical. You don't want to be heard in the news that so-and-so within your organization was hacked and your employees' data is being sold online, or maybe your third-party partner's data has been hacked and all that data is floating outside, because that also breaks your organization. So from there, I'll pass it over to James to take us through the common cyber risks facing small businesses.
Thank you so much, Zadock. I will be taking us on common cyber risk facing small business. Entrepreneurs face growing cyber risk, targeting their core business networks and extended third-party supply chains. These include ransom, phishing attacks, business email compromise, which is BEC, weak password policies, on-passed software, insider threats, insecure Wi-Fi networks, third-party vendor breaches, lack of data backups. Now, looking at ransomware, what it means is malicious software encrypts business data and determines, I beg your pardon, and demand payment for release, right? And then a phishing attack is when employees receive deceptive, I beg your pardon, emails, tricking them into clicking spam links. The other day, I received I received a malicious email from a hacker, supposedly to be my boss Isaac. It actually on the email it said it was his name, Isaac Wanzama, but the email address had a different domain, right? And the content of the email was prompting me to send certain information, right? Demanding me to send it right away, right? So these phishing attacks actually do exist, right? And then the other day I also received an email containing a malicious URL, asking me to sign into my Microsoft account, right? But when I hovered around the URL, I saw that it was malicious. He had a different domain. He had Microsoft was spelled wrongly, I beg your pardon. So all these types of phishing attacks that target small businesses. Number 3 is, like I said before, business email compromise. Criminals impersonate executives or vendors to redirect payments. And then weak password practices, use of simple or reused passwords makes systems easy to break into. What are types of simple passwords? They could be your birthdays. They could be your kid's birthday date. They could be names, right? So all these are very vulnerable passwords that should not be used. And as we move on in the slide, we shall be looking at the types of password policies. What's the length? How many should I? I don't know why my camera keeps going off here. What's the length of passwords that is recommended? Industry standard, 16 digit and whatnot. And we have unpatched software, right? Outdated software contains vulnerabilities that attackers exploit. For example, you have a small business that still makes use of Windows 7, Windows 8. Makes use of softwares that have been outdated, right? attackers tend to lean towards such. So they tend to exploit the vulnerabilities that exist in unpatched software. That's why it's imperative that we ensure to keep our softwares up to date. Then there's the insider threats. Careless employees cause data loss or lack sensitive or leak, I beg your pardon, or leak sensitive information. Insider threats can is something that does exist. An employee who was laid off, and the person wasn't really happy about it, and then the person had, like, still had access to, like, let's say, the external drive, or still had access to his email account. His email was not deactivated on time, and then he tends to leak data, right? And then there's the insecure Wi-Fi networks, on unsecured wireless networks, expose internal systems to unauthorized access using weak network passwords, right? Using default admin network passwords. You find some small businesses, the password to their Wi-Fi is admin, right? It's like the default, which is very easy to guess, and it's not good. Once a hacker or once an attacker has that your password, he can go ahead and change it to a name that he wants, right? And then there's also third-party vendor breaches. A supplier with access to your systems is compromised, right? Impacting your business. You want to look at third-party risk assessment, just like third-party risk vulnerability, just like Zadock has said before. These vulnerabilities do exist. You want to, if you have a supplier who, let's say, you buy, like, certain software from, or that you deal with, you want to ask them, what are they doing about cybersecurity? What are they doing about securing their application, or their business? Because if their platform gets breached and your data is on the platform, that means your data has been breached as well, right? And then, of course, there is the lack of data backups. Failure to regular backups increases impact of ransom or accidental data losses. Data backups can never be overemphasized. You need to have an external, data backup, right? And these are common risk that face small businesses. You see, like, you have just one laptop, and you're using the C drive, and you don't even back it up, and something happens. It gets either the laptop gets destroyed or gets stolen. There's no way to retrieve your data. Next slide, please. By the numbers, Canada in 2024 to 2025, about 5.9 billion cyber attack attempts in Canada, and in the first quarter of 2025 alone, 40% increase. There was a record 40% increase in the first quarter of 2025, and then 67% of Canadians of Canadian small to medium businesses that were hit paid the ransom. 67% paid the ransom, and 1.2 billion spent on recovery in 2023, doubled from 2021. And then, of course, 60% of small businesses closed within 6 months of cyber attack, right? These numbers are real. That's why cybersecurity can never be overemphasized. Please, next slide. Yeah, cyber threats targeting small business, because we have about two businesses that got hit. Number one was London Drugs in British Columbia in 2024. It was Lockbit ransomware forced closure of all pharmacies locations, couldn't process payments for days, cost nearly 50 million in losses. Our source was the Canadian Centre for Cybersecurity. And then number 2 was Indigo Books in Toronto of 2023, Canada's largest bookseller hit by ransom. Online sales shut down for a month. Credit card system offline. It cost about 15 million in total losses. These attacks are real, and that's why as small businesses we need to make sure that we are doing something about securing our environment. Next slide, please. Now there are 3 types of protection you need. There are a lot of protections, but just bringing it down to 3 types of protection that you need. Building a strong cybersecurity protection requires these 3 layers of defenses. Number 1 is people protection. That's employee training. Training on backups and recovery systems. Phishing awareness, password policies, and management. You have to train your employees. Most of the attacks that happen are, I would say, 85% to 90% of the attacks are caused by human error. Employees need to be trained. You need to train your staff about the importance of cybersecurity. You have to take them through security awareness. Number 2 is process protection. That is governance and plans, clear guidelines on handling data, implementing access control measures, having business continuity processes. You have to have a clear guideline on handling data, implement access control policies. For example, somebody who's in HR shouldn't have the same access as somebody who is in the field, right? You need, if for example you use SharePoint, you need to delegate. What's the word now? You need to delegate permissions, right? Not everybody should have access to everything, right? And once you do that, you are one step, closer to being protected. And then there is technical protections, which is controls, implementing antivirus software, firewall blocks unwanted users, protection protection systems, right? You have to implement firewalls. You have to implement antivirus. You have to configure your firewalls in a way that it filters unwanted traffic into your network. You might be saying, well, maybe I don't have like a server room, but you have a little rack, right? You have a little access point. So all these you need to implement firewalls filter, ensure that it filters IPs coming in traffic, that unwanted traffic, unwanted users from accessing your network, right? And you have to implement, like I said before, password policies. You have to have like a 3-month policy, a 3-month password policy implemented, where every 3 months users are prompted to change their password, right? And again, do not repeat previous passwords, right? Next slide, please. Right now, what are cybersecurity frameworks? A cybersecurity framework guideline goal is to identify, prevent, detect, respond, and recover from cyber threats. These, I would hand it over to Zadock to take us from here.
Yes, thank you so much, James. So just as a clarity, so here we're looking at cybersecurity frameworks, as I earlier mentioned, having to deal with compliance. So frameworks is another name of compliance, and what these are, as James just defined, these are guidelines that we get from different types of frameworks, guidelines, and standards to follow within cybersecurity. And what they do is assist businesses to identify, prevent, detect, respond, and recover from any cyber threats. So identifying, this is the phase where you want to start to understand what are the cyber risks within your specific organization. And then protecting is implementing the safeguards. So for example, if you have a building that your business runs, you will not leave your door open. You know that if you don't lock your doors, someone's going to get in, and probably an unauthorized user is going to come in and take whatever is not theirs. So we have locks in place because we understand that we identified that not having locked doors or security within our organization allows users to get into it. And so this also happens with our digital environment. Unfortunately, we use devices, and organizations use devices, but they don't have that awareness to recognize that what are the safety measures I have to put within my digital environment to also protect myself. And that's why you have partners such as Guardlii who help and assist organizations to recognize how do I keep myself safe in the digital environment. And then so detection, this is where you implement, as James mentioned, around the technical protection phase, is implementing antivirus, implementing detection systems. So when someone tries to get into your digital environment, you get an alert. It's like an alarm that fires off telling you that there's an intruder. And then that's how you go to the next phase, where is responding, taking action, containing and mitigating the incident. Just an example as I gave, you have a door, you have an alarm system. Is someone trying to break into your organization, an alarm will fire off, and that will alert the police. It will allow those measures to be taken into consideration. Then we go to recovery phase. So what happens when an incident actually occurs? What happens when there's a fire that broke out within your organization? Do you have a plan, a strategy of how to mitigate that incident? So that goes as well within the digital environment, where you need to have backups, as James mentioned. If you don't have a backup and your data is stolen, then how do you go back to continuing your business? And has that affected your neighbor? Has that affected your vendor, your supplier? This is the third party that we were talking about. And so here we're looking at building a protection plan. So here we're just going to give some measures and ways of how you can start thinking about implementing cybersecurity within your organization. So a strong defense here requires 4 steps, and these are general steps. We could go into details within other, depending with how your organization works. We could implement structures on what are the steps that we can follow. So simply here, we can look at understanding your risks. So what do you have within your environment? Could we get someone? Thank you. Yeah, so here is understanding your risks. So what data do you have? Do you store financial data, employee data? What will hurt most if lost? So you don't need your employee data to be lost. You don't need your data of how your organization runs. So let's say you're an accountant, for example. You have a lot of clients that you consult with. So you can imagine if that data is stolen and what that attacker could do with that. If you're a law firm and you have data, which is very critical within a law firm, if per se you're a small convenience store, you have POS devices, you have machines that you utilize, you book supplies when you're running out of supplies, that is critical data to you. You could be a small salon. You could be storing data on your computer, keeping your customer data just so that you have their information. Nowadays, we have those cards where if you visit a location, they note how many times you visit, and maybe if you reach 5 or 10, then you get a coupon, or you get a discount off of your products. And you can see that with grocery stores right now have applications that you sign in your data, you have your address, you have your name, so you have all your PII information, which is personal identified information. So are those data safe? Then assessing where you stand. So here is, do you have the 5 must-dos, which we'll look into shortly. So where are the gaps? Understanding where the gaps, like I mentioned, you have a door, you need a lock. So within the digital infrastructure of your organization, where are the gaps so that you can implement protections, which is starting with the quick wins, which you'll look at, as James has mentioned. One of them is having a backup, and then you can build from there. So training your team, this is very critical, because once you are onboarding employees, do you immediately educate them on security measures they have to put in place when utilizing your digital infrastructures? When you bring in a team, you take them through fire simulation. So if a fire breaks out, what are the strategies that we have to do? There's that notice. There has policies. Do you have policies within your environment when a hacker attacks you and a ransomware attack happens, when your passwords have been breached? Do you have a strategy? Who's concerned with those strategies? And so making it part of your culture to understand that you also need safety measures within your digital environment that is helps you to protect yourself. And so here, just a quote below here, you don't need perfection. You just need to be better protected than you were yesterday. So here we're simply saying, know that you need the protection, and then start to look, where do I start to implement those protections? It could be as simple as maybe you have only one device within your infrastructure, but why you run a business is because you're hoping to grow, you're hoping to get partners, you're hoping to develop yourself. And so starting to know what measures you need to put in place, and actually now working with large third-party organizations, they're going to send you a compliance assessment where they're going to ask you, what are the cybersecurity measures you're putting in your place to be able to secure us? And those are the same questions we're talking about, you also asking your third parties about. And so, as we mentioned previously, these are the 5 things which every business must know. And so starting here, this gives you the biggest protection for your investment. So going back again to protection, there is never enough protection that you can have to hinder yourself from cyber attacks. Every day, especially now with AI, they keep developing and evolving. That's why, as you can see with your mobile devices and laptops, how many times do you get there's a new update? You need to update your devices. Probably now you're getting it every 2 weeks, or at least every month. You're getting new updates within your mobile phones, your iPads, even your smartwatches. You're getting updates on a regular basis. The main purpose of this is there was a new method that was found that attackers are using to steal data. So they need to frequently keep updating that. So the question is, are you keeping up to date within your digital infrastructure to secure yourself, that every month you have that awareness to check that you have everything in place, protections in place? So here, just to start up with what every business must know, we keep on talking about backup everything and test monthly. Have an external drive that is not connected to the internet, so where you can put all your data. If you are attacked, you could choose not to pay a ransomware to get your data back, because you already have that data, but you need to communicate that to your third parties, to the people who are affected with that. Strong, unique passwords. As we said, James said, you need to understand the new guideline within the cybersecurity compliance. You need at least 12 letter passwords. 12 character password. You need an uppercase, lowercase, and a special character within that password. It's also recommended to use sentences than use names or anything that attaches to you. So I'll give an example. You have a cat, and you have maybe the cat is named Lucy, for example. So you want to say, I love my cat named Lucy, or and then you want to mix those names and so forth. So you just want to play around with it, and then use password management. This is where you store your password, you manage your passwords, so it helps to protect you from any attackers. And Bitwarden is one of the password managers you could use, which cost about $5 to $8 per month, which is not that much. Probably I could say some of you have Amazon subscription, you have Uber subscriptions, you have Shopify or Spotify subscription. So the question is, as a business, do you have protections such as this that you could have that protects your passwords? Multi-factor authentication. So this goes to nowadays within applications, how to protect yourself from uh, third-party accesses by unwanted users. Enable multi-factor authentication. So what this is, you've seen it with banking, you've seen it with even emails right now. When you log into your email, it sends you a message to your phone to confirm if it's you who's trying to log in, or you could use authenticated applications where you get the code that you can verify if it's you who's trying to log in into your account. So this is it's usually free, and it's a very high protection because it's a step forward to confirm that you are the person claiming to be, and this keeps attackers away. Then training your team on phishing, so having phishing simulations. So this is a practice, like I mentioned, if you're practicing with a fire attack, if fire breaks out, what do you do? So phishing is where we also do simulations on sending fake emails to your employees and spotting if anyone clicks on the link. So this is not going to affect your environment, but this is a practice that you could do. So when an employee clicks, they need to be taken through awareness training on why did you click the link that you don't know where it's coming from or who it is, because it only takes a click, and that click could install a malware into your device and your whole organization is breached. So awareness is very important. Then a what if plan. So what if plan is who to call, how to notify customers, do you have a cyber insurance? So this is when an attack actually happens. What do you do? Who do you call? How do you respond to any attacks? And so total budget here, we're just talking about for 25 employees business, you're looking at 2,000 to 5,000 per year for these basics to be implemented. But the opposite of it is if you're breached, it will cost you hundreds of thousands, six figures into the seven figures. Because one thing is, if your employees' data is stolen, they could sue you a very hefty fee, especially as I mentioned, there are already compliance frameworks out there to help you organize yourself and prevent yourself from an attack. So if you're not implementing these measures, 2,000, 5,000 investment is nothing compared to what you could be suffering. Just think of having one employee or one third party organization that has been breached because of you. They could sue you for hefty fines, and it doesn't even start there. How much will it cost you to actually get a lawyer to fight for that? So it could cost way more than that. So here we're looking at tools for cyber protection. So this is more of a technical perspective that you could implement, but this is where Guardlii comes in, and we look at your organization, see what you really need within your environment. We can start by a simple assessment of understanding, identifying what your infrastructure looks like, and then look into what tools and there are free tools out there as well. So with budget wise, if it's something that is of importance, we can also look to schedule what are the best tools to start out implementing. So for networking tools, James did mention, and just repeating here, we have firewalls, and then we have network monitoring, VPN. So this is virtual private network. Probably some of you use it on a day-to-day. Endpoint tools. So endpoint, you're talking about your end user devices, your laptop, your mobile phone, your smartwatch, your iPads. And so do you have antivirus software for your organizations? Endpoint detection and response. These are the alert systems, mobile device management. So this probably not for small businesses, but it's something to consider. Then patch management. This is simply making sure that your softwares are up to date. Then application security tools. So here we also have web application firewalls, and we have static dynamic application security testing. So this is like a pen test. We could do a simple pen test within your environment just to see and identify those gaps within your third-party applications. Then cloud security tools. So or as a small business, as an entrepreneur, we depend on third-party software. We depend on third-party storage, as James mentioned, share folders like Google Drive where you store your data. So identifying and managing the access management. So who has access to what? So authentication within those environments. And then cloud access security brokers. So who are those security brokers that you use within your environment, and just cloud security posture management. So these are just some of the tools that assist with thinking how you can start to protect yourself. And so that brings us to a very important topic, which is incident response plan, as I mentioned. So just going back to that example, if a fire breaks out, probably all of us know what you need to do, what are the steps to do. We've gone through this as growing up within different institutions, school, businesses. We always do these practices of if a fire breaks out, what do we do? Now, my question to you is, have you done any incident response simulation of if an attack happens within your business? So here we look at the phases. We'll focus on the picture on the right. So preparation, establishing readiness for the incident. When a ransomware attack, what is a ransomware attack? And when it happens, what do I do? What is a phishing attack? When data is stolen, what do I do about it? So getting to understand that is the readiness portion. Then detection and analysis. So this is where understanding each incident and how do we detect it. When I get an alarm that someone's trying to breach me, or it could be simple, an email, an employee receives an email that seems fishy, that it's not from the organization, that's a detection. So creating that awareness within your employees also helps you to detect the phishing emails. And with that, we could always put these emails on a folder where it gets to be tracked. If you're using a Microsoft Office Outlook, they have measures where if you get phishing, you could always put them in a folder where that email will not come to anyone else within the organization. Containment, these are measures also that we could implement with your email infrastructure that you're using. So there's Defender that's there. So containing any impact of incidents. So as I mentioned previously, protection is just the starting phase, but we can never completely protect ourselves 100%. And that's the work that we're trying to bestly grow to protect even much better. And so I will say 75% protection is what most organizations have. And so containment, this is the phase that helps us to limit those impacts as much as possible. Then eradication, this is removing the threat. So there are steps of that as well. Recovery, we talked about backup. And communication, this also goes to communication, how you communicate with those that are affected. Then post-incident activity, so this is improving our plan every time we do a simulation. Where did we, it's like a KPI, keeping in tabs on, are we good at what we're doing? How best can we do it? What is the timely manner? If an attack happens, did we resort to fixing the problem in a timely manner? Did it take us 24 hours? Did it take us 2 minutes to fix the problem? So having also to understand the effectiveness of how quick you need to recover. And so here at the bottom, you can see key contacts to have ready for an incident response plan is having an IT support partner who, when you go through any of these attacks, could assist you. Cyber insurance provider, so we urge if you're holding a lot of data. I'll give an example of a customer service organization. So if your services is to offer customer service, you're definitely holding a lot of data, and you definitely need cyber insurance, because you can imagine if your data is stolen, then you probably have a lot of people whose data has been breached, and you're looking to definitely get some letters about being sued because of that. So you definitely need a cyber insurance, which creates that safety net. And then legal counsel, you definitely need to have legal counsel that understands the cybersecurity environment. So, and they're prepared if an attack happens, what are the steps that they're ready to do. Communications lead. So yeah, this is who you need to communicate with when attack does happen. And so that brings us to third-party risk management. So this is the portion where you start to ask about your third-party vendors, your suppliers, what are they doing in the environment, and you as well could be a third party of a different organization. So these are also questions you start to ask yourself, because soon it will be a recommendation that as you're running a business, you need to have cybersecurity protection in your environment. Especially now, there's a lot of AI agents. So this is no more a recommendation, but it's gonna be something that it's a must for you to have in place. So here we're looking at a problem. Say you're a bookkeeper that gets hacked, then criminals access your financial data. So what are the questions to ask your vendors and suppliers? Is how do you protect our data? And that goes to you. How do you protect your vendors' data? Do you have a cyber insurance? Do they have cyber insurance? What happens if you get breached? Will you notify us? What is the timeliness of that? Because the timeliness is also critical. If you get breached and you keep the information away from letting your third-party vendors know, you keep 2 days, 3 days, they could have been breached, but if you notified them earlier, they could have made protection measures. And if you don't, the attacker is getting deeper and deeper into the organization, and that is just continuously going to cost more and more. So if you get breached, don't get afraid of being sued. Just notify your parties immediately as possible, because that also helps you, because if they can protect themselves, they'll be able to protect you as well. Then can we see your cybersecurity practices? So this could be a simple document that is delivered to you, talking about how they protect your data, the systems they have, certifications as well. So with compliance, some large organizations or your third parties are actually required to have certifications of security practices. So you could have this, especially if you're working with cloud services, they will always have security certificates. Red flags to watch for. So when you get to ask these questions, are you getting the answers? So they can't answer basic security questions. That should put you in a risk category. So you want to also create a risk matrix of all your vendors. So if they cannot answer basic security questions, then you want to question yourself if that's a safe vendor to work with. They email you password in plain text, so you receive messages to their logins and text, and they're literally not following any uh, guidelines of how to secure passwords. So that's also something that's not supposed to be happening. They use personal Gmail for business use. So if you're an organization, it doesn't cost much to have a business email. So even as we're talking today, if you're using your personal Gmail for business, you want to look at having business emails. They resist giving you copies of your data. So this goes to data retention. As you're saving or using third-party applications, they tend to hold your data. Even if you don't use them no more, you need to ask them about your data. Who has the data that you used in their environment? How long are they keeping it? And you could send a simple email that you're requesting them to remove all of your data and prove that they've already done. They should send you back an email saying that we've removed your data as of this date to this date. Your data no longer exists in our systems. And so this brings us to compliance. So this is more deeply in compliance, policies and procedures. So in your organization, when you start building an organization, there are policies and procedures that you have to abide by, you have to generate within your organization, and this goes to the legal framework perspective. So question is, do you have policies and procedures also within the cybersecurity landscape? And so here is the question of, do I need compliance? As we mentioned, it's essential as a guideline. Understanding it and knowing the guidelines to prevent yourself for attacks is critical. And so here, examples of frameworks. So if you're accepting credit cards, you need to be abiding by PCI DSS. It's a payment card industry standard, and this is a must. So this is not a by the way, this is something that you have to have. Handle health information, so there is HIPAA, and for Ontario Health Privacy Law, it's PHA IPA. So this is for health organizations. You could be a dentist, you could be a specialist within the health environment, so you need to abide by this law. Working with the government or enterprise clients, so there may be specific certifications that are required, so you need to know, call your legal. You can also call Guardlii. We could take a look at this and just know which compliance frameworks you need to abide by, because when you're breached and you're not abiding by this, the penalty just becomes more expensive. So obtaining certifications, as I mentioned, your third parties could provide you with PCI DSS certification showing that they abide by that certification. NIST, there's ISO 27, there's a bunch of ISOs. And so what this does, it builds credibilities with your partners and customers. So when you start to implement these strategies, you get a lot of customers that want to work with you because you are understanding the landscape of keeping your digital infrastructure safe. So core components of compliance, this is where you develop, it helps you to develop clear policies and procedures and just SOPs, standard operating procedures within your organization. Then conducting regular vulnerability assessment. So we do vulnerability assessment just to understand and address cybersecurity risks before hackers get to you within your organization. So key considerations here, just customize compliance strategies to fit your organization and effectively to manage your third-party risks. And for that, I'll pass it over to Isaac to take us through.
Awesome, thanks Zadock and James. That was a lot of information, and hopefully the audience is getting some learnings from here. So what did we learn today, and what objectives did we achieve as part of this session? Number one, I think we're leaving here understanding the core cybersecurity concepts and terminology. So when we hear terms out in the market, if we're talking to suppliers or partners, we know what that means. We highlight the importance of cybersecurity for small business. This really, I think, is important. Cybersecurity is not a big company problem. It's everybody's problem, as we said off the top, and I think the team has demonstrated just how important it is to you, your customers, your partners, and then going down the line. Then identify real-world cybersecurity threats. We hear about phishing, ransomware, and then I think all those are things that we now know and should be able to understand how they affect our business, and more importantly, how to protect ourselves. Then, of course, we clarify common cybersecurity risks. So we're certainly going to take some questions in a moment, but I think we have a better understanding of that. Types of protection, people, process, and technology. Those are the three pieces that really work together. How you train your team to understand the risks, what kind of procedures put in place, including policies. What piece of technology can we begin to use today? Some are free, as we saw. Some we might have to spend a little bit of money, but ultimately we think about the overall cost if we're breached. Develop an actionable protection plan. So we kind of looked at 5 things there that you could begin to implement slowly. Something as simple as understanding what the password policies are within our organization. Don't use the same password. Don't share a password, which is something very common. Somebody logs into an account and everybody has that same password. That's something that we should not be doing. Enhance instant preparedness. What if something happens? What do we do next? That's something I think you need to go away and think about today. How do we recover our business? How do we communicate to our partners? And how do we ensure that an impact that happens here doesn't shut us down completely as a small business? We saw that shutting down within 6 months of an attack is real, and that's something that we certainly don't want for our business. And then, of course, expand awareness of third-party risks. It's not just our environment; it's an environment of everybody who we work with and works with us. The great example there: if your bookkeeper gets hacked today, they have access to all your financial data. What are the implications of that? So we need to ask them questions around cybersecurity. And then the bottom line here is you don't need to be perfect. This is not something you need to roll out to begin to protect yourselves. You could just start, and that's really the progress that's I think the key learning there. Okay, next slide. So your next steps, very quickly. We have just about a minute here. Check your backups. Enable MFA. Review who has access to your systems. Not everybody needs to have access to everything. You can do that this week. This month, get 3 quotes for cyber insurance. You need to protect yourself and transfer some of that risk over. Implement a password manager. Schedule monthly security check-in. Let's look at what we have on a monthly basis. And then this quarter, find a trusted IT security partner. Document a response plan. And then, of course, train your team for phishing. Begin to see what that team response is. So that's a quick 1, 2, 3. And of course, we're sending out the slides and this entire session. But this is a great place to start. Okay, next. So key questions here: if your systems were down tomorrow, what would you do? Who has access to our business? Would my team recognize phishing? What would it cost for data breach? Do I have insurance? And then do I have somebody to call? Then of course, if by failing to prepare, you prepare to fail. This is a famous Benjamin Franklin quote that I think makes a lot of sense here. So that is our conclusion. So we're happy to take a question. Just before we do that, we do want to thank BACD again for putting on this important session. Antoinette, awesome job hosting and having us over here. Again, thanks James and Zadock, and we'll take any questions to the 2 analysts we have on this call.
Thank you, Isaac and Zadock and James. That was great. So yes, any questions from anyone today?
I'll open the chat. So 13 people stuck around. So I'm assuming we were communicating some value here.
Yeah, great tips shared just in terms of, the value of your service, because, the service fee compared to legal fees and all the headache involved with that is absolutely a worthwhile investment.
Absolutely, and that could not be overstated. And I think this is why we wanted to really collaborate with the BACD here, because often this level of information is not available for small businesses. So it was really our pleasure to be able to come and speak to some of the risks and protections here.
Yeah.
I see Anushka is typing, so we'll give you a minute. Hi, Laura.
Hi, how are you? So I'll be a witness to suffering from a cyber attack a couple of years ago. So I know too well the circumstances and how it happens and the pains you get. For the company I work for, luckily, we were able to recover and put everything in place. So I urge everyone to do that proactively rather than reactively. It probably is a lot less painful. Can you speak a little bit? I come from healthcare. So for those startups out there that are going to be in the healthcare environment, beyond just, identity and financial, do you guys have experience around healthcare and protecting patient health information as well?
Sure. And healthcare is a particularly important one because whether you're in Quebec or Ontario, there's actually quite stringent government guidelines in terms of compliance. So a lot of the same controls we spoke about here in terms of how you manage the data and being able to demonstrate that you do have policies in place, for example, around access are critical. But Zadock, I'll bring you in here. I don't know if you want to add to compliance and health.
Yes, definitely. So there's the guidelines of how to protect the data within the healthcare environment. So first we'll need to understand the systems that you have in place where you host the critical data, and then we can implement steps to protecting that. So first of all, we could create barriers of how you get access to that data, and we'll also implement I&M access control, so who can have access to those environments, and do you host it in servers or cloud services? So it's critical to know everyone that has access to that data. Then that's how we could implement those structures around that.
Thank you. I do coach startups, so I applaud you for this session because this is so important when you start a new business. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Laura. So a question in the chat from Anushka: how can I enable MFA from my bank account?
Yes, so that you can actually call your bank and request them to, so not necessarily MFA, but it's an authentication process that's similar to MFA. So what they do is they could send you a text message where they will send you OPT code that you need to implement before doing any transaction. So it's like a notification just letting you know someone is logging into your account. Verify it with this if it's you. If it's not you, then avoid it. But if it's not you, call them directly, let them know someone else is trying to log into that account.
Yeah, and it'll definitely vary from bank to bank in terms of what kind of system they use, but the financial sector is really quite obviously far ahead given the nature of their businesses in instituting these controls in place. So this is, if you can't turn it on your own, if it's like a mobile app, you could usually turn on within the app, but certainly just contacting the bank and they'll help you set it up specifically.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to carry on to the next question in the chat from Samantha. I had MFA turned on for my account and it broke my link in QuickBooks. Had to turn it off. Any advice or recommendations in that situation?
Yeah, I'll suggest check the update of the application. It shouldn't break the link. If it's an issue, definitely that will be concerned with the update. So you could update QuickBooks or the platform that you're using it, and you should be able to turn it on. If that continues, then I'll suggest contacting the customer service of QuickBooks.
Okay, good idea. All right. And now turning to the next question in the chat from Natalie. Be careful where you attach your ID. I recently had my driver's license duplicated and someone went and swapped my SIM on my phone with my ID. They then had access to my phone number to use my MFA with my cell phone. Oof. Not good. That's my initial response. Yeah.
Yeah,
Is there any way that can be prevented?
Yeah, and I mean that really points to identity theft. And once you get to that level, it's almost like you have to, start with a new phone completely, right? Because what happened there, now they've got your entire chain of control, even in a situation where you're trying to use MFA, because they're getting your code, right? That means if they're trying to access your account, they're actually verifying that it's them, even though when it's not them. So reporting to your bank is probably one of the first things you want to do, and a lot of banks are encouraging that for sure. Then I think working with your telephone company just to ensure that my identity has been stolen. I need to switch my number to kind of really contain that before it gets into any other application, any other systems you have within your device.
Yes, and all the applications that you have MFA on, if they're on that same cell, I'll suggest contacting each organization that you have MFA for, so they can turn it off, and then you can go on a renewal procedure of creating new authentication for those applications, because unfortunately, it's a tough process. I've put someone through that because contacting the cloud third-party services, they're not responsive quickly, especially with MFA, because there's a lot of attackers that they're constantly trying to get them to renew other people's MFA so they can get access to those systems. So there'll be a lot of verification process. You're having to send a lot of PI information for them to verify that it's actually you. So unfortunately, it's quite a hard task, but I'll suggest that will be the best way still to go through it.
Okay, I think another comment from Natalie. I've now removed my phone number from my MFA anywhere I can, and I use an encrypted password manager and authenticator app. Okay.
Yes.
Samantha, SIM swap is my worst nightmare. Oh my goodness. Can I tell my cell provider that account transactions can only be made in person in a store with ID?
Yes, but it is very hard with cell providers. So probably, I don't know if you can do automated transactions in a way that it's only you who can do the transactions. Because they will literally say yes, but following up with that procedure, cell providers don't do that.
That's an because I mean, cell providers also they exist in a competitive environment, and they're always trying to increase quality of customer service and do things for you quickly, right? Because they just want to make sure you're a happy customer. But as a result of that, obviously, they're introducing a vulnerability if they feel they have to make you walk through 10 different steps, which I think Natalie is pointing to. So maybe a conversation, maybe putting a note on your file that, no changes could be made on this account unless I walk into a store. Maybe something that you could instruct them with.
Mhm. Very tricky, that's for sure. Another question from Natalie. My phone provider actually said they had a security put on my account, and it happened twice despite that. And this actually
Wow.
happened in person in a store with my ID.
Yeah.
Yes, that goes to what I was saying. They will tell you it's there, but it's not, because that's a really tough environment right now. So it's more of preventing access to avoid the putting your cards in your phone. That's how I'll say it. So there is nothing linking you to your bank accounts and so forth. And always log out from your bank accounts as well.
Of course.
For sure. Interesting stories, some very unfortunate experiences out there, which further underscores the need for a really great cybersecurity plan and strategy, both in your business and also your personal data.
Absolutely. I mean, imagine being able to access your account and all of a sudden somebody accesses your entire payroll account. How do you pay your staff? Right? Or we talked about, lawyers or real estate, we have escrow accounts. Somebody's deposits for their home that you are entrusted with all of a sudden access because I'm able to take your credentials from your laptop or your device. So there's a lot of, small risks, but some big risks as well.
Absolutely. Well, Natalie says, I will be calling you guys to help secure my business. So that's great news.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
We're hearing that.
You're
Love it.
welcome. Yes.
Excellent. Good.
Yeah, and it's urged for all businesses to do a regular assessment. So quarterly, or if you could do it at least twice a year, every 6 months. It's good to know what are the vulnerabilities in your environment, because now with AI, they just keep growing. And there's a lot of copies. For example, now you have these small businesses who have a website. Someone can create the similar website and have other people log into. So being aware that there's a copy website of yours is good, because you can advise your customers to avoid going to that site, because you could be losing a lot of customers, and customers probably suing you for neglect in that case. So understanding vulnerabilities in your environment is very critical.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Antoinette, again for having us. Oh, there's one more last question.
Oh, from Lori.
Lori.
I just had a comment, because I've worked for big companies, small companies, but more and more our customers as companies are doing their due diligence, right? And they'll do IT and security survey. If you do what this team is telling you to do, you'll be positioned to respond to the survey and get the business. If you don't, you might not be able to get the business. So this is also so important as you grow your company, right?
Yeah, that's a very important point, Laura, because I mean, as business, we're looking for opportunities. So we want to respond to RFPs, we want to respond to all these opportunities and submit our proposals. Now, increasingly in that proposal process, there's a section that says, what is your cybersecurity posture? What are you doing for cybersecurity? And if you're competing against a competitor who has that, and you're like, well, we don't have anything to respond to password, you're certainly losing opportunities. And the same thing with partners. Partners want to work with other partners who know that they take this seriously because it impacts their own livelihood, and sort of opportunities exist if they connect with you. So this is not just protect, but this is if I want to grow. And this is before we get into ISO 2701 level, just the basics, saying, you know what, we do training once a year. We do have this password policy. This is how we talk about bringing your own devices to work. This is how we talk about, using Wi-Fi, just that documentation. And this is what a lot of these partners would ask for. I know that they've asked those of us in our business when we work with these large companies, like, well, fill out this form. And we went through one of these sessions. It was literally 150 questions that we had to answer. and not only just answer, but actually provide evidence of that. So give me your policy and upload the document that says, this is how we train, or this is how we're handling your data internally. So as businesses, you begin to rise up and you want to work upstream with larger partners, they're going to expect you to have it, one, but also demonstrate it, show it. What is the evidence that you have these things in place? So very, very important point there, Laura.
Yeah, and if you store your data in cloud, right, and you're going to be forced at some point to get your SOC 2 certification, all this that they showed you to do will be the first step before getting the SOC 2, right?
Absolutely. We want to play in the big leagues, and this is the foundation you need to get to that next level.
Exactly. And it's awareness. So it starts with awareness, what we've done today. And the next step is now starting to question what you have in place, what you don't have. And that gets you a step forward to implementation.
Right. All right. So I think I just want to take a moment to thank Isaac and Zadock and James once more for an amazing presentation. Thank you for answering so many questions, so many difficult and confusing questions, but hopefully at least this presentation brought some more clarity to things that you need to set up to protect your business. So on that note, I'm going to stop the recording, and I'm just going to finish. Okay.